biggest news today is George Pickens finds his way on the move to the Dallas Cowboys. Big time player, can make big plays, but hasn't necessarily replicated that on the field thus far. So far his fantasy finishes have been 42, 26, and 37. This past season he had 900 yards with only 3 touchdowns. Biggest question we have, guys, is George Pickens a buy or is he a sell heading to the Dallas Cowboys? I'm going to start with you, Coach. What's your thoughts on George Pickens, and what are you doing with him in Dynasty?
I'll be honest, I don't think there's a better time to sell George Pickens than right now. Like, this is prime time. And it's even better that he went to the Dallas Cowboys, man. Every league you're in has some kind of Dallas Cowboy fan, and they're dying to buy some George Pickens right now. I just think the guy's very just okay, average. I don't think he's elite or anything like that. The question will be, will he commit himself to playing hard and fighting through any adversity there in Dallas, especially when CeeDee Lamb is wide receiver 1. How does he handle that? Things like that are questions. But there's no doubt in my mind that you'll have a Dallas Cowboy owner somewhere in your league that wants to get George Pickens on his team right now.
Yeah, I mean, just the name capital, the value there, moving to the Dallas Cowboys, you mentioned it. A lot of people are going to be really excited about that. I was texting with you today, Coach, and with Pete and Hoff, and I let you know that I went and asked all my Dallas Cowboy friends, what's your thoughts on this? Everyone seems to believe that this is a top wide receiver duo in the entire league overall, above Chase and Higgins. I had multiple people tell me that. That's crazy to me. So I would be capitalizing on that as well. I think you can move him, and now's the time. Like Coach said, you can get some pretty extreme value for George Pickens. But Tyler, what are you doing with Pickens?
Yeah, I would sell him too. Like Coach said, this is the perfect time. Going to the Cowboys, like Coach said, you've got one of those at least in every league. And so I think his value is probably down because joining the Steelers and people kind of looked at him, this value before now. But with him going to the Cowboys, I think it's probably an uptick in value, and I think you should capitalize on it because we were already having people, clamoring for the wide receiver 2 as the Cowboys. And if you've got a George Pickens fan who's a Cowboys fan as well, go trade, whatever you can for him, or get back for him, I guess I should say. So I would sell him.
Well, I don't really have a lot of shares of George Pickens, honestly. But something today told me a lot about his value because I was all of a sudden receiving multiple trade requests for Dak Prescott. Like, people were trying to get Dak Prescott today in the leagues that I own him in, and it makes me just wonder. I'm sure they're trying to do the same for George Pickens right now. I mean, I just think it's prime time to trade him if you can.
Yeah, I think Dak's probably the biggest winner of this move overall. I mean, he gets another weapon that he gets to use outside of CeeDee Lamb, maybe some pressure taken off there. We'll see what happens with Ferguson as we move forward. But for the most part, I'm not really sure that I'm going to expect Pickens to suddenly become everything that everyone wants him to be. I mean, if you go back and look at his production, it's just simply not there. He's makes fantastic catches, contested catches, but at the end of the day, he hasn't necessarily been the guy to stretch the field and, get open at all times of the game. I mean, he's never had more than 65 catches in a year, and he's only missed 3 games in his entire career. So when you really look at that, how much value is he adding? He's stable production, but I wouldn't say he's elite production.
Yeah, I mean, I agree 100%. He does have some great catches, like you say. I mean, he does those things that are highlight reel plays, but he doesn't get tons of separation. That's the major issue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the league that we're all in together, last year he was the wide receiver 42, that's where he finished. So if you get somebody that thinks he's going to be a top 24 wide receiver, like a wide receiver 2 or something, and they want to pay that price, by all means, go right ahead for it. Because like you guys have brought up, it's not, he's great at contested catches, that he can make some flashy catches, but he's just not going to be the target hog.
Yeah, I mean, 103 targets last year, 106 the year before. I think what everyone would say is, well, the offense in Pittsburgh hasn't necessarily been anything to write home about. And that's true. But as it stands right now in Dallas, I think, again, the biggest benefactor of Pickens being moved is going to be Dak Prescott. It's not going to be necessarily that suddenly, Pickens is going to be a top 12 wide receiver. I think that dream is far and away not happening. It's just not come to fruition at any point in time in Pickens' career thus far. So I'm not going to expect that it's suddenly going to change now that he's in Dallas. Well,
yeah, and he does help the room, right? He does help the Cowboys as a whole. I mean, he's definitely better than all the other guys that they had as options for wide receiver too. So I mean, there is that for the offense in Dallas, but so that could potentially help Dak Prescott somewhat, assuming he will actually fall through and play hard the entire season and have a good attitude and all those things. There's more potential there than Kevontae Turpin, I would imagine.
Or Cooks either.
Or Mingo.